Hello everyone, welcome to the Concern Podcast, where we unpack political, socio-economic and cultural stories shaping our world. I am Emmanuel Taban. Now, the Minister of Cabinet Affairs in the Republic of South Sudan, Honorable Dr. Elias LOMURO, has decided to fold his political party and merge with the ruling party, that is SPLM, ahead of the 2026 general elections. In other words, Dr. Elias LOMURO came out and said that his political party, the South Sudan Democratic Forum, or the DF, is not fronting a presidential candidate, but rather they will support and endorse President Salva Kiir as their presidential candidate. In other words, the DF has come into a merger with the SPLM party, or they have formed a political coalition or political alliance. That is what exactly Martin has said. And he said that the decision came after a very thorough internal consultation with members of the Democratic Forum, and that is the decision that they have come up with, that they are not fronting a presidential candidate ahead of the 2026 election, but rather they will support President Salva Kiir as their presidential candidate. That is what he said. And this message was actually received very well by the Secretary General of the SPLM party, that is called Paul Kordit, and he received the decision that by DF leadership to merge with the SPLM party ahead of the 2026 election. And this is what the Secretary General of the SPLM party had to say about it.
The SPLM warmly and highly welcome the decision by Democratic Forum and by extension the agenda parties that they do not have a candidate for presidency except His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit. This is welcomed by the SPLM, and this reflects and demonstrates strong ties that existed between the agenda parties and the Democratic Forum in particular, and the Sudan People Liberation.
And yes, that was the Secretary General of the SPLM, but also Dr. Elias LOMURO said this about the merger.
In this respect, we as the Democratic Forum will not advance a candidate, because our candidate is President Salva for the presidency, as we've always done. We believe he has the wisdom to build our national security sector, to build our democratic systems, and to land the country peacefully so that we continue to maintain peace.
And yes, so that is what exactly happened between the Democratic Forum and the SPLM party, the ruling party. Now on this video, I want to try to explain to you if this is a good move done by the DF and Dr. Elias LOMURO, and what it means in a democratic state, or what it means to a country such as South Sudan, especially that the country is now heading towards an election in 2026. Now, the practice of political parties merging together, especially when elections is nearing, it's not a very new thing. I mean, this has been happening in so many countries. And I'll give you a typical example. In Kenya, every single time the country heads towards a presidential election or an elections, so what happened is that political parties come together and form political coalitions, and then these political parties later on, or this coalition later on, front single presidential candidate, and they all support this presidential candidate. So in Kenya, it is very, very hard, extremely hard, for a single political party to go into an elections and they win the election. It's very hard. I mean, for the last 10 or 20 years, Kenya has never gone into an election where a single political party presents a presidential candidate and they win it. Never. It has never happened. So what happened in South Sudan between the DF and the SPLM party is not a new thing. It's not a new thing at all. This has been happening. And what happened in South Sudan, it's just like what always happened in any political in the political happenings, especially when a country heads towards an election. So in this video as well, I want to try to tell you if this is a good move done by the Honorable Elias LOMURO or not. According to me, the move done by the DF or Dr. Elias LOMURO to merge with the SPLM party, or not to front a presidential candidate for 2026, according to me, this is a very strategic move done by Dr. Elias LOMURO. And I'll tell you why. Dr. Martin Elias LOMURO has been in the SPLM party for quite long. He has served in the government of Kiir and under the SPLM party for quite long. In fact, a few people only knows that Dr. Martin Elias LOMURO is not a member of the SPLM party. It's only a clique of people who knows that. Majority of people understands that Martin Elias LOMURO is a member of SPLM party because of his connection to President Kiir and his work that he has been serving under the SPLM government. So many people knows that he is a member of SPLM party. And therefore, it won't look really very strategic if the DF or Martin Elias LOMURO decided to go solo into the 2026 election as a presidential candidate into this. Because what is that thing that Dr. Martin will be campaigning about? What is that thing that he will be criticizing about the government of President Kiir that he's not part of? I mean, every single thing, whether being a success of the SPLM government or failure of the SPLM government, Dr. Martin is part and parcel. He is part of it. And therefore, if he had actually decided to go and run under the DF, the Democratic Forum ticket, I mean, he would not have any legitimacy to criticize Kiir's government, because every single mistake or every single success that the SPLM party and Kiir has registered, Martin Elias LOMURO has been part of. And therefore, the move done by him not to front a candidate, or the move done by his party not to actually front a presidential candidate ahead of the 2026 polls is very strategic, because that means that he understands that they have been together with Kiir, and every single thing that Kiir has done, every single achievement that Kiir's government has registered, or any single failure that Kiir's government has registered, he is part of. So that's why I'm saying it's very strategic, because he will not have any ground to run against President Kiir and criticize his government, or Kiir's government has not done this. Because when you run for presidency, you'll have to criticize the incumbent, because that will be the basis on which people will vote for you. What is the different thing that you're going to do? So that it will be very hard if Martin or the DF had fronted a presidential candidate for 2026, because he would not have any legitimate criticism against Kiir government, because whatever thing Kiir has done, he has been part of. So that is one strategic thing that I think the DF and Martin has done. Second of all, Martin Elias LOMURO is already serving in the cabinet as a minister of cabinet affairs in this current government, and therefore, going into the 2026 presidential election as a candidate under the DF, he would be risking his position, because that would mean in 2026, if President Kiir goes under the SPLM party ticket as a presidential candidate, and Martin Elias LOMURO happens to go under the DF ticket as a presidential candidate, that means that if President Kiir, because there are high chances of President Kiir being elected as the president again if the country goes to an election. I mean, I'm not considering the fact that the election might not be a free and fair one. I'm not taking this. I'm just taking all under other factors. I'm not considering it. But if an election is held in 2026, if it's to be held in 2026, there are high chances that President Kiir will be a president, will become the president again. And therefore, if Martin goes against Kiir in 2026 on different party tickets, and if Kiir wins, that means that Martin Elias risks the opportunity of working with Kiir alone. Again. So he might have seen it from that perspective, that if he decides to go and run against Kiir on a DF ticket, then therefore, should President Kiir wins in 2026, then of course he will automatically be excluded from the government. But if he decides to go through a merger with the SPLM party and the SPLM wins, then obviously he would still be reappointed in the cabinet as a minister or any other position. So he is looking at this from the beneficial point of view. And I think that is a strategic to him. I'm not saying it's a good, but to Martin Elias LOMURO, it's a very strategic move that he has done. Perhaps he has considered, he has viewed this from this point of view that I've actually spoken about. So if he decides to go and run against President Kiir, and if President Kiir wins in 2026, then obviously he'll be excluded from the cabinet or the government that Kiir will form in 2026. So these are the reasons why I feel that Martin Elias and the DF have made a very strategic move. And I feel that this might not be the only political party that will actually come into a merger with the SPLM party. Ahead of the 2026, there might be other political parties as well that will merge with the SPLM party, or some that might actually form the opposition. So thank you so much. So this is my view about the merger formed by the SPLM party and the Democratic Forum, the DF of Dr. Martin Elias LOMURO. So tell us in the comment section what you think about this merger, and like, comment, share. And if this is your first time, of course, hit on the notification button and get notified of other videos that comes after this. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Subscribe. And until next time, I'm Emmanuel Taban, and this is the Concern Podcast.